This is the ATI Podcast.
Welcome back to the ATI Podcast. We're in here for episode 120, very special episode. I've got Jake Jackson from Waxing On with me, helping me steer the ship today and talking to these fine folks from Stand Still. How are we doing this evening?
How's it going?
Going on.
Wonderful.
Good, guys. So, hey, guys, we're really excited to talk to you guys tonight, of course, just to do a little bit of a gush to get things started. Jake and I were both looking very forward to your guys' album's release. Stayed tapped into all the singles as you guys were releasing them, building up to the release of Steps Ascending, of course. Was really liking everything that we were hearing with each release. I think you guys made our list a few times on Tracks of the Week as well. We do weekly Tracks of the Week. Been very locked in to what you guys are doing with this album. Let me tell you, gentlemen, right off the bat, fantastic work. We appreciate you.
One of my favorites of 2024 so far.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You guys.
Yeah.
So, gents, I would like to kind of like start the conversation this evening with just getting to know you guys a little bit individually and kind of how you came to music. I know that you guys had bands in the past prior to Stand Still as well, so we can touch on that a little bit. You know, maybe initially what drew you to music or your instruments or kind of what inspired you to pursue this.
Yeah, as far as me getting into music, just a typical, my parents kind of just was always playing music around the house, as far as like Tears for Fears, Jimi Hendrix, and a bunch of other classic rock to everything that I kind of listen to today. Not to touch upon like every band, but that turned into me jamming with all my friends in middle school since around like 5th, 6th grade in Lindenhurst. And I kind of was always drawn to the bass because like everybody was either trying to be a singer, drummer, or guitarist. So right off the bat, I was like trying to choose my own path that like nobody really like takes, especially at a younger age, from where I was from at least. And then kind of ran from there and just like, was always drawn to the bass. I only played bass and then also played trombone in like the school band. Yeah. And I was in the same school as Brian, kind of always knew of him and we always knew of each other because we were always playing in like local bands throughout high school. And then shortly after high school, I actually like formally connected with Brian on a friend level. And then he asked me to be in a few bands. I'll have him explain more of like the specifics of those bands, but that's kind of how I became in a few hardcore bands and played in a few bands with Brian. And now we're here at Standstill. So that's a long story short.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool.
Brian, how about for you, sir?
Yeah, so for me, when I was younger, my parents are pretty young parents, so they kind of just showed me music that they were listening to, and I was always into that. My grandpa played guitar, so like when I started becoming interested in music, like he, would start kind of like jamming with me and start getting back into it, sort of, because he like hadn't really played for a lot of years. And then I kind of mostly taught myself. Like I had lessons for a little while, and I feel like I got grounded like after like 3 lessons or something like that, like not doing my homework or something like that, and I got like taken away. But I wound up like just doing it on my own and like kind of just like learning from listening to music. And then eventually when I moved to Lindenhurst, I started making like friends that all like played music and stuff. And like when you play with other people, I feel like that really makes a huge impact, especially for somebody that doesn't have like a classical formal music training. So I think that like playing with other people and like learning from others, is like the best way to like go about learning if you don't, know how to read music and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of like how I got into it. And I started going to shows with my friends and like hardcore shows and stuff, and kind of just took off from there. So long story short, after high school, I met Matt, really formally met him because like I knew of him, but we were never really like friends or even acquaintances really in high school. But after high school, like he started coming to hardcore shows and stuff, and like he worked at some of the local venues and stuff. So we started talking, and we were in a hardcore band together called No Idea, and then we were making Standstill, and me, Andre, and Steve had been jamming for a little bit. We wanted somebody awesome to play bass, and like Matt couldn't have been a better choice for that because he's just like an all around awesome guy. So that's kind of like how it all
Fantastic.
came together.
yeah.
But I met Andre and Steve through playing in a band with some of my friends from high school, and we played Oneonta, and Andre booked the show, so that's like how we connected. And then me, Andre, and Steve were in a band called Discolor together for a couple of years, and then that kind of basically just turned into Standstill.
Okay.
And then
Very cool.
Matt and Jerry got introduced to the picture, and 4 years later, basically, we're here releasing a full length. So appreciate you
Yeah.
guys the kind words about the record.
Yes.
Yes.
yes. Love the Long Island sound. Got into you guys through Lumpy, of course. On one of the great things about social media is like promotion, and I saw him make a post about, I think, Steps Ascending. The title track was the first single, and he's like, for the fans of like Silent Majority and the movie life, and I'm like, well, because shout out to Koyo, getting into them the last few years, I've realized, oh, there's a Long Island scene specifically, and I was like, so I've gotten into the movie life and Silent Majority and bands like that, and so like when he said for fans of that, I was like, I got to check this out immediately. So
That's great. Thank you.
Andre,
Yeah, that's
how about
awesome.
for you?
Yeah, I think Brian kind of summed a lot of it up, but got into music and playing music mainly through friends. Just learned how to play the drums from just jamming with like a lot of friends from middle school through high school and playing in different bands, and just like kind of showing each other music and getting introduced to like local shows, and just meeting people through that, kind of like how I met Brian and Matt, and the other guys in the bands. But yeah, just like a lot of lifelong friendships through music and shows locally, and just kind of just learning as we go, and that's what got us here today.
Prior to the album that we've been talking about so much already here, Steps Ascending, you guys did have a single that you guys put out in 2021. I think that was the first material that you guys released. And then you guys had 2 EPs following that. I just wanted to talk about some of, highlights from those times as well, that as far as stuff that I liked and I personally took note of, being a fan and leading up to where we are today, of course. Whether it was music videos or the singles themselves, a track that grabbed me right away was Id.
yeah,
In particular, with the lyrics and the choices made there, because I mean, like, not every day do you hear hardcore lyrics talking about id and super ego and things like that. So that actually kind of grabbed me right away. And Loose Ends is another
Yes.
track that I really love.
Cool
off the
music
second
video
EP.
as well. And I
Absolutely.
think that is that like in the sun in the video, is that like on a map of like Long Island, or am I crazy?
Yeah, that's on Long Island.
Yeah. Well, like on a map, like in the sky. Is there like I don't know. Like I thought it was like a map or something of like, because like on the Koyo record they have a picture of like what Long Island looks like on the map. I thought that was like maybe what that was in the
Kind of
sky
like
there.
superimposed up in the sky.
No, I think we just shot it at a spot in Long Beach, and then I think we in post just edited and made it super oversaturated because we wanted it to be like a nice visual thing. Yeah, that's crazy. You took that takeaway from it though.
Yeah, I thought it was like
interpretation.
the thing of like Long Island. I don't know why I thought that.
Well, I know what drew me to
We're gonna
Loose
say
Ends.
no. It is Long Island. We're just gonna go with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's intentional.
All right. Cool.
Totally.
All right.
All along.
Yeah, I like it.
Another thing I want to say about Loose Ends, which grabbed me right away too, Jake and I are both fans of H2O as well, and that kind of had a real H2O vibe to me, maybe like with a little bit of like more modern, like Saves the Day stuff, sprinkled in there. So, I can kind of see some of those influences again. What's great about the new album too, you guys got the hype sticker on there for folks that may not be familiar with you, some of the inspirations maybe behind the sound. And I always love when bands do that, because whether or not it's completely intentional or just a marketing thing, you get an idea of like what their inspirations are and kind of what, is a part of the potions that's in the mix for the music. But yeah, Inner Love was another one that I really liked, the Inner Love feature on Trading Places that you guys had. And then the video in Satellites is something I always took note of personally, especially like, I don't know if you guys filmed that like in a practice space or what, but in the background, you guys had like the Nothing Flag, which is one of my favorite bands. That stood out to me right away. Rage Against the Machine poster.
Yep.
And I know Pain of Truth are you boys. You got the feature on the new album, but the Pain of Truth tape in there was something that stood out to me right away. Like, hey, there's the Pain of Truth tape, so I always enjoyed that video quite a bit for those reasons in particular.
Yeah, thank you. I would say some of it was intentional, but we just kind of filmed the video in the studio that we practiced at and recorded those songs in, because it was just a very accessible space. And then I guess all the stuff in the background was just a plus. And then we actually had our friends Michael and Danny, Michael being in Pain of Truth. And then I don't know if it was our idea or Michael's idea to put the tape in there. I forget. Brian, do you remember?
Yeah, I think so. And like, I think we wanted like a reason why they crashed into the pole. And it was like, oh, they were like fucking around with the
Distracted.
tape because they like dropped it or whatever. Cause, it was
Yeah.
just like a stupid, like funny video that like didn't
Yeah.
have to like really make complete sense. That was just
That was your
including all our
that was
friends.
Matt's old car, right?
Yeah, it was
Matt's
Matt's
old
old
car.
car.
It was
It was
like-
like,
Like a
Yeah.
died
we just like parked it right near the pole and pretended it like crashed in. Yeah. But, but yeah, like the tape thing was kind of intentional and it was just funny. It was like like we accidentally grabbed the Pain of Truth tape. Wait, we need the standstill tape that we're like running to the record store or whatever the hell this, scheme was. So.
That,
Right.
that reminded me of a memory. Like the shot needed Michael and Danny to be driving my car, and when they first hopped in my car, Michael just made it a point to just like completely speed away as fast as he could just to get me nervous.
Burn some rubber.
Like, he literally just like burned out and just like drove away, and I'm like, oh, here we go, So
Yeah.
that video was a lot of fun. Just incorporating as many friends as possible.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always love seeing the little Easter eggs and videos like
Yes.
that. Again, it just kind of, I don't know, makes you feel more connected as a fan, knowing that, some of the things that you guys like or enjoy are the same things that we do that isn't necessarily specifically in your genre, so it's always nice to have that peek behind the curtain, if you will.
It's always cooler when bands rock other bands' shirts or artists in press photos and in like music videos. And like that's for me, like bands back in the day when they would have like bands get stickers on their guitars or like other bands in videos. That's how I discovered a lot of music. So I think that's way cool. So
Yeah. What it's all about.
I think that there's something that could be said about your guys' discography, all of your, musical releases to date, as well as that there's been a clear through line in progressing as musicians. It seems like you guys are up in your game, in my opinion, with each release that you guys have. I don't know if you guys is that something you've took note of personally as well, and what you would kind of contribute the key factors of, if it's just, getting more reps together, or is it, maybe production relationships that you guys have, or just a comfort in life and with each other? What would you guys kind of attribute that towards?
I think it's just comfortability, just like playing music together for years now, and kind of just knowing like what works for us and what doesn't work, and just trying new things out, especially on an LP. And a lot of that, comes down to like the production that we got working with Greg Thomas and Chris Teddy at Silver Bullet. They like helped us explore like some new things we wouldn't really try on our own. And some of these songs like we had in our pocket for a couple of years, and then we wrote over like the last year or so. But I think it really just comes down to just being like comfortable playing with each other, playing more shows, touring. Just getting
Definitely.
better at our instruments. It's a big part of that too.
Yeah, I think a huge part is like we never even played a show before. We wrote 9 songs the first time we recorded. We recorded 9 songs altogether. We had that one single we dropped for like the AMH comp. Then we did Practice and Patience EP, and then In a Moment's Notice EP, and they were all from the same recording session. So we essentially recorded a full length already, and just broke it up because it was like we're a brand new band. Like nobody's gonna want to hear a full length from like a brand new band essentially. So we just broke it up because that made way more sense. So I think the big difference was that like when we wrote that, like we just were jamming all the time and like it was a cool setting. It like came together before we ever played a show. And then now we've played like hundreds of shows at this point, and through the course of like all of that, we've like written new music and like matured as musicians, pushed it a little bit further than we would have, the last time we recorded. So I think it's just like a step up, from the last thing, like Andre said, just comfortability. We've basically all been playing with each other for years at this point. So besides, just this band. So I feel like that's a huge contributing factor. And like we're just growing like together as a group, basically.
Again, just, even with the last release here, Steps Ascending, is the production's amazing. It's on point, certainly, but you can notice that you guys are progressing as musicians, just how tight you guys are, whether it's, transitions and songs, how seamless that they are, how you guys switch between fields, whether it's on top of the beat or you guys are playing in the pocket. There's a level of comfort that translates to the recordings that I think that we're seeing here with the new album for sure.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I got to ask, the title, Steps Ascending, Is that a nod or an homage to the Thursday song by
I think
chance?
that was unintentional. I
Okay.
just think as far as Jerry went with writing the lyrics, that was like a reoccurring lyric that happened throughout the record, and we kind of just latched onto that. Yeah, I think that's basically it.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Which is very ironic though, because Steve, the other guitar player, cites listening to a lot of Thursday as he was writing like the songs that he wrote or the parts that he wrote for the record. So it's just kind of ironic because Jerry kind of had written all the lyrics and done his own thing with the vocals for the most part, and we kind of heard everything all at once, sort of at the end. Yeah, it was just like ironic that it happened to be a Thursday song, and like one of their messages as well. And he kind of did the same thing. It was like unintentional, but the Thursday did influence the record a lot
Yeah,
from
it's a band we
Steve's
all love for sure.
Oh, Thursday's
love that.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's an all-time fave of mine as well, gents. So love it, love it, love it. Now, Steps Ascending, of course, released on June 14th. You guys got 10 tracks on that album. It's like right around 29 minutes long. We're already getting into some of the things that we love about the album, of course, but I want to kind of hit on specifically, what the performance is on this record, how they're translating, and what I'm particularly enjoying from the record that you gents are to be commended on for sure. We've talked a little bit about it, vocals specifically. The delivery, the lyrics, again, kind of going back to some of those outside of traditional norms, maybe in particular hardcore music. Some of the narrative-driven lyrics that are in my blood.
Yeah.
A song that Jake and I know both love a lot for different reasons. But then you have other songs which, Steps Ascending, I kind of, if a person was just to listen to that like passerby, they might like assume that has romantic references. But, if you actually sit down and read the lyrics, to me, it seems more of like a spiritual discovery type journey thing, which again is a little bit more deeper than, just, some passerby romantic fling thing, in my opinion. Or at least that's how it spoke to me. When I read them. Avoiding the Intersection, that's another one.
Great opener. Great way to start the album.
Absolutely. And I think that's another thing that you guys are to be commended for, because that's something that I've really listened into is like album openers have weighted like very heavily in like whether or not I think an album's great. And you guys have one of the strongest openers, I think, this year for sure, of any album as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I remember that song originally. There was a debate over if that was going to be the opening track. I think for a while it was Dying Light. That was going to be the opener.
Yeah.
And then not last minute, but like a few months towards like the wrapping up of the record, like Avoiding should be the opener for sure. So glad to hear you like it.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, love it. And then of course, in the Dying Light of a Setting Sun, the second track. Speaking of videos, that's probably my favorite music video of the year. If you could tell us a little bit about that, it kind of like gave me like it tied into the album cover, like the guy running in the front. Like I got that. It tied into the record as well.
Yeah, that was actually shot at my job, the venue that I work at. And,
okay.
They kind of helped us out a lot with that. And the videographer was the same videographer who did both videos for the LP and Loose Ends. And he's a guy we've worked for a very long time. I've known him forever because he's just always been helping out local bands, ranging from local bands to like huge touring acts, like just a bunch of like bigger like metal bands. Like I think he's worked with Lamb of God, just to say one name, which is just like a huge accomplishment that he seems to be proud of. And yeah, he's just been like a local entity as far as like a guy who helps out bands. And I've known him for a minute, and he was able to like pull through and help out, a band like us, just kind of like get a good visual representation of the record. And he ran with every idea we threw at him, and he was just super positive. And we kind of just like, dealt with a lot of chaos actually recording those videos, which was like fun chaos. Like, if you can see from that Dying Light video, the video wall reflects on the floor because we had to mop the floor like 100 times that day. And
them meaning Tone.
Yeah.
Our friend Tone, that like is our touring guitar player basically, that fills in for Steve all the time, was the one that was like mopping the floor the whole time.
Yeah, and then it resulted in me, like everyone was just like, what are we doing? This is crazy. Someone's going to get hurt. And I'm like, nah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And then I'm the one that completely fell at everybody, like bad, and everyone was just like, "You're the one that said it was okay."
Fucking told you.
Yeah. And then shortly after that, Brian's amp like just fell off of his cab, and we're just like,
yeah.
"All right." But it resulted in a very chaotic and fun time, and the videos ended up being really cool. And then like we filmed that video a month before that single came out. That was following the In My Blood single. So shortly after that, we filmed the In My Blood video, which was like one of the funnest times working on this record rollout. Didn't know what to expect as far as like kind of like a text around event. Like we didn't post about it. Or any of this stuff. We kind of just like had like word of mouth, like have the invites come as far as like who were the extras that watched the video. And I called my friend, who's the homeowner, at like 2 a.m. on like a Tuesday. And I was just like, yo, I know Taking Back Sunday did the music video at your house. We were thinking about doing a music video too. And then he's just like, yeah, you want to do it in the same spot? And we're like, I don't know if we want to do it in the same spot. Maybe you could try and make it a little different. And then out of nowhere, I was just like, what if we do the living room instead of the backyard? And then it's like an upstairs living room. And he was just like, dude, yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah.
It was just, we just
That's
gutted
awesome.
it. We gutted out all the living room furniture. We set up a PA, and just like went crazy. And it was
That's awesome.
so hot in there. And very, very, very fun. It was so sick.
You mentioned Taking Back Sunday. Are you talking about the So Old video they did last year?
Yeah, it's the same exact house.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that video is great as well.
We were recording, like wrapping up guitars in the studio when whoever who was sending the invites out texted like all of us and was just like, we would love for you guys to be there, blah blah blah. And we were like in the studio, we're like, can we wrap this up a few hours early? And then we just like drove out immediately just to like hang out.
Yeah. We wound up lending them some of our shit actually, because like we just had our shit with us.
Hell yeah!
And then they had like a show in Vegas or something, I want to say, and like they sent all their shit to Vegas, but then they like were filming this music video, so they like didn't have any equipment really. So like we were like, all right, we got you on like
they
like pedal boards,
tuner.
That's awesome.
In the Dying Light of the Setting Sun, that video, that always kind of gave me a little bit of like Refused vibes. That's why I locked into that song immediately right away.
Yeah,
and so that was like that might be my favorite song, and the video has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, the videos,
Yeah, I mean, that was like a game day decision of the shots. Like, I don't know if you're like doing a nod towards the shots that have like the two lights behind us with like the solo shots without like, so that was like literally like, I was just like looking around the room. And so I designed the lighting for that venue. That's like my full-time job. And I just kind of knew what I had at my disposal. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I know we have those lights somewhere. And I was like looking around at my friends who were all pitching in to help out the shoot. And I was just like, you want to try and like make a new noise, like looking scene here. And then Tom Flynn was like, the director was like, that's one of my favorite videos ever. Let's fucking do it. And then we like everyone took a break for like an hour, and then we just like made the scene real quick. And that was just a super like last minute idea. And it's crazy that you guys like grabbed that. That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that atmosphere is definitely there for sure. And again, it locked me in right away. I think Jake and I were talking about a mutual friend of his that he was trying to get into hardcore. And like we were talking about bands that would be a good idea. And I believe that perhaps you guys were a band that they liked. And I was like, oh, you should show them Refused, because I think there's a little bit of that in there. Certainly, again, but the music video is what kind of made me initially make that connection for sure.
Yeah, I love Refused. It's one of the, like, I've been listening to that since like football in high school. Like, I love Refused.
Sure, absolutely.
The Shape of Punk to Come.
Oh,
yep.
Boys, that might be a Desert Island album for me personally, but that's another discussion. I want to highlight the drumming specifically. Drums is my primary instrument, so I always listen to that first on a record. And I mentioned it earlier, but just the sharp playing, the seamless transitions, a lot of that's driven from the drum set in a song, as you guys know. And when it's time to play on top of the beat, I mean, you're right there, fast, sharp, and then when it's time to switch to a pocket feel, again, it's just that seamless transition that happens. I could point it out so many times on the album. It's really helps add to the band's dynamic and its sound overall. You definitely deserve your flowers on the drumming.
Thank you. Like, that really means a lot. Really appreciate your words there, and yeah, just really try to like challenge and push myself, the best I could for these LP songs, and again, just like really have to shout out Greg Thomas there. Like spent a lot of time on drums for this record, and just trying out fills and different things here and there, just to like kind of add to the feel of the song. Like a song like Dust, kind of like has like that waltzy type groove to it. It's kind of something different for us. So
Definitely.
Looking back on that, listening back on it, and glad we try something like that. Hoping to like branch out into more of that in future material, but yeah, just again, I really appreciate your words there, and it's all like really fun to play live too. Like now that we're kind of changing up the set list for like some of our shows now, and like mixing the LP songs in there, they're awesome. Like the way they translate live, so it's been fun.
Speaking of live, I have to take the opportunity to make a mention of this quickly as well. I think you guys got as many as 3 856 sets out there in the world, and which are all enjoyable, and I recommend folks checking them out. Maybe we'll put together a little playlist to pair with your guys' episode and put in the episode details for people to check out. But man, I'm hoping to see another new 856 set before long with some new songs, gentlemen, in there as well, because I can't wait to see that playing that you're doing live, Andre, because you are getting some BPMs in there, son. That's some cardio.
Yeah, there's some fast ones on there for sure.
Yeah,
gotta get the cardio up. So.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of opportunities that we can get for an 8.6 video. In the meantime, we have like a couple local videographers towards the tail end of August that we're playing with our friends in Capital that are headlining the show.
Oh, Capital Legends.
Yeah, that's another great thing, that like a good opportunity that we always get with this band, is we play with the bands that we grew up listening to, pay tribute to, and love. But yeah, so I think we'll have probably, I want to say, Lee from Four Chords, and our friend Dan Seagraves films a lot of like Long Island and New York sets, and they'll be at our Long Island shows, and their production value is really good as well. Like, so yeah, if you in the meantime want to catch a Long Island show, which is like a very good representation of this band, check out those companies or those videographers. They usually do a really good job by us.
Cool. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I know I caught one other live set of your guys'. It looked like maybe like in a hall of some type. And it wasn't an 856 video, but I couldn't recall.
I think there's some First Feet Productions videos of you guys as
well. Yes, yeah. Feet First. I think they made it out to a lot of our Brooklyn sets, and they've filmed us there, which are also insane shows that they've caught. Yeah, Feet First, Four Chords, Never Better. They're all videographers that are great, that film more of our more local shows. That you can also check out. But yeah, if a 8.6 video in the future also happens, that's sick, because they're all great.
Absolutely.
My favorite 8.6 video of you guys is I know you're homies with Michael and the Pain of Truth guys, but there's one that he takes the mic and is like telling everybody to move up, move up. I thought that was really cool. That he was in the crowd stage diving and singing, and thought that was really cool.
I think that was the LDD pre-show, which I think we all packed in my Hyundai Tucson that's now in shambles from probably driving to all these fests. And we just drove the 16-hour drive out to play the pre-show and like hang out with our friends for the weekend, and that ended up being a crazy just one-off, just to make it out to Louisville and just play the pre-show for a couple hundred kids. It was awesome. Louisville is always sick for us. That was fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and it was also Ryan Meehan, who's like our friend from high school, like that's friends with all of us, and like Pain of Truth and shit. We had like his bachelor party that weekend, like at the fest. I think Pain of Truth,
it was great.
They played the pre-show and then they also played the fest. So it was just like
the whole fest, the whole weekend was awesome. We just had a
Yeah,
sick time.
me and Brian were both in the wedding party, and including Michael from Painted Truth and a few other friends from our hometown.
Nice.
And we all just bought an Airbnb in Louisville for the fest weekend, and we just had an amazing time. And we played the pre-show. Painted Truth played the pre-show and the fest, and we were all just hanging out because half the party was like people who were playing the fest. It was
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got to take the opportunity as well. We're talking about Painted Truth. Got to give those guys some love for that album last year, man.
Incredible.
I think it is not talked about enough. Like, it is iconic, without question.
Yeah.
Modern classic. Every song except for one has a feature. I've never seen that. Like in like that's common in like rap music, in hip hop and rap music, but like in hardcore and like punk and rock, I've never like. I just thought it was cool that we're gonna get Justice from Trapped Under Ice. We're gonna get Vinny from the movie Life. That's super rad.
Great variety.
Yeah, all of those are full circle moments. I love that shit.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think at that LDB we were talking about, Michael was kind of showing us like some of the mixes he had at the time, and we were all just like, yeah, this is going to be like a game changer when it comes out.
Michael's actually showing me mixes when we were getting measured for the tux for that wedding that we were all in.
Oh, that's badass.
We were going to get our measurements for the tux, and he just threw it on while we were on the way, and I was just like, are you kidding me, man? This is fucking nuts.
Love it. That's fantastic. Back to your guys' record, though, Steps Ascending, of course, and I didn't want to leave anybody else out here, of course. We got to talk about the bass playing. What I always listen for in a bass player, because that's kind of my second instrument, is, are we playing something beyond the root notes? Because unfortunately, a lot of people, I'm just going to say it, mail it in nowadays and just kind of get by, play the root notes. They don't do their own little fills or runs. Again, a lot of playing the bass is locking in that rhythm section with the drummer, and that is something that is such a highlight of your guys' band, is the tightness of the rhythm section. So kudos on the bass playing on this record also, Matt.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as far as the process of this band, Brian and Steve bring most of or all of the structures for the songs, all the riffs, and then we kind of like hash it out all together in a practice space while we're like, getting me and Andre up to speed. And then I kind of like, I feel like it's not as much a thing when people tell me what to do, because they kind of like, I feel like everyone kind of trusts me. So I kind of like follow along to as much as I can to what Brian and Steve bring to the table. And then once Andre kind of like has his stuff mapped out, I like try and push the bar on what I can do to tastefully progress the parts of the song with the bass. And I try and like do as much as I can that's not like too out of pocket on each song. And as far as like how it came down to the production, I was kind of persistent about like reamping and tracking, and I think I spent like close to a week tracking the record, which is like pretty unheard of for bass. But like we've all been saying, like Greg and Chris spent a lot of time and attention and energy on the record with us. So as far as the bass playing goes, we really, really, really wanted the bass tones to be really good, and they ended up coming out like super, super like punchy, yet also very ambient. Yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out, and I try my best to like tastefully write like as many parts as I can without it being like too like all over the place,
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a fine line to walk sometimes with the bass. There is a way to be a little bit too flashy, and you're taking away from what everybody else is doing in the event that you participate in that behavior as well. So sometimes there's a fine line to walk for sure.
But yeah, I mean, we got a lot of like moments to like take home prints of the record, and for a while I was able to have like guitars and drums without my parts in it, and I literally just like locked myself in like a room with some of the members or without, and I kind of just like went to town, and I was just like, I could do something here, I can do something there, I can do something here. And that's kind of just like how the process was for this LP. But all in all, like I was like, this is my first LP, I'm going to do as much as I can, and I think it panned out really well, and I appreciate that you guys are taking notice of that. That
Absolutely.
means a lot.
Yeah, The low
Thank
end
you.
definitely translates well on this record, of course. And for me, it's hard for me to be locked in on a record if I can't, get a good healthy dose of that low end. It's mixed well digitally. It's mixed well for vinyl, so I can speak as a consumer. The low end translates if that's something that you're looking for in your auditory experience. These guys have got it in spades.
I
Thank you.
agree.
Thank you so much.
And of course, we can't forget the guitars. The
Yes.
guitars and all of the catchy ass, bouncy ass at times riffs, as well as the amazing breakdowns. And in the Dying Light of the Setting Sun earlier talked about that. Again, might be my favorite song on the album. Just the ending breakdown is so catchy. It might be the catchiest or best even of the year for me personally. I love kind of the wide open to the palm muted breakdown to close it out. It's such a fantastic bookend to a highly emotional song. So you guys are really killing it on the guitars as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. And for me, lyrically and riffing wise, In My Blood, and the breakdown on the end of that, like that riff, In My Blood, is living in my head all day. And lyrically, it's my favorite on the album. I took it from as like getting shown by an older sibling, like music and like dad, the war pigs thrown in the fire. Like I can relate to that because I have an older brother and Barrett here. They played in bands together, so both of them showed me music, and I kind of could relate to that track lyrically specifically.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I called it. There's like a Weezer song where they talk about like songs that they grew up with, and there's also like a Capitol song called On a Mission that's just kind of like about getting into hardcore and stuff like that. And when when we first heard that song, we're all like, yeah, that's totally like Capitol On a Mission vibes, like your backstory of like getting into music and shit. That's cool. It's fucking dope. And it's like
Absolutely.
it's authentic. It's definitely like like a lot of like emo bands or adjacent bands, like you said kind of before it. You guys had mentioned would like kind of just sing about like breakups and stupid shit, but we're all like in our late 20s and shit, and we're like, we're not. That's not really what's on our
Yeah.
brains. So
Right.
it's cool to have some like other authentic content for songs.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure we wrapped the end of that song up at the Jam House in Lindenhurst. Like that like ending breakdown thing. I think we thought of that idea while we were all together at like a pay an hourly spot in Lindenhurst called the Jam House, which I guess for the record, to talk about Taking Back Sunday again, it was the same spot that Taking Back Sunday wrote Tell All Your Friends in.
Oh, hell
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, writing this record, we bounced around to like 3 different spots, all writing this record with the time it took, and that being one of the spots.
To get into what else I think just makes your guys' band so great and what will draw people in ultimately, I think it's the accessibility of your guys' music without compromise. You guys, there's still a lot of musicality to what you guys are executing. There's an intensity still yet to what you guys are executing, but at the same time, you guys talk about a lot of things lyrically that people I think can lock into. Again, I think the music overall may be a little bit more accessible. However, I think a lot of that comes from what you guys would probably cite as your influences as a band. So we've talked about some of the bands. I know it's on the hype sticker specifically, but it's kind of interesting to see some of the bands that you guys had laid out there, and quite a variety as well. You've got Saves the Day, the Movie Life on there. For fans of Taking Back Sunday as well. So kind of talk to me about how you guys feel like your inspirations maybe perhaps translated to this album.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have like different inspirations, and it has a lot to do with like what we're listening to at the time and like just our general playing styles. And I feel like we're all kind of just like locked in and kind of new, like kind of what Andre was saying before of like why the record has progressed. Like we've been playing with each other for a long time, and we kind of like are all on the same page, like musically at least, like for sure, like all the time we're pretty much headed in the same direction. So I think that's like a huge part of that. But yeah, I think like influence wise, I would say that like bands like Capitol, Silent Majority, the hardcore, but like also very melodic bands that are from Long Island is like kind of the heart of like what we're our influences. And then we tack on like pretty much all other kinds of stuff that we like. But I feel like that's like the foundation of like what we sound like. That's really just like how I naturally play guitar. Like when I write music,
Sure.
that's the style that I write. That's just like what I've always wanted to do for a band. And
in our other band that me and Andre were in that was also kind of melodic. I kind of pulled in that direction, and other band members pulled in a different direction, which kind of created like a mix of both, which was cool and everything. But like we're all definitely locked in on the same page of like exactly what Standstill sounds like. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what it is. But like I'm sure everybody can tell you different things that they've peppered in, you know, that like they were inspired by, that like influenced their part specifically. So there's definitely tons of different influences in there, but like definitely I could say like the Long Island sound, if you want to call it that, is pretty much the basis.
I think your guys' inspirations as well, kind of steer me at least, make this a little bit of like a nostalgia listen, even though this is a brand new record. This is almost nostalgic for me. I'm, closer to 40 than 30. So bands like Taking Back Sunday, whenever they were coming out, into prominence, bands like Thursday when they were coming out into prominence, bands like Saves the Day. I listed it in the post teasing our conversation tonight, but bands like Monine, even, I can see a little bit of that and what you guys are doing. That just takes me back to a time and a place, and it also kind of beckons to like what we had by proxy, thanks to St. Louis in our area, what was a local music scene, and a lot of those types of bands would come through this area in the early 2000s with a similar sound to you guys, and I feel like you guys would have fit in perfectly with that scene, which is just a huge, Pandora's box, like musical experience for me. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be doing this podcast today specifically. So I get like really just in the nostalgia feels whenever I'm listening to this album too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. It definitely, like, that's kind of what we're going for. Like, I feel like with our overall sound is that, like, we're definitely looking back and paying tribute to, like, where it all came from and, like, where we all came from musically, I guess. But then we're also looking forward to the future at the same time and doing different shit that, like, those bands didn't necessarily do, and, like, doing things a little bit different way. So I think that, there's, like, a little bit of balance to it, but it's definitely, like, a nostalgic vibe for sure.
And that's what I love about the Long Island scene in general. Getting into all these the bands from the past, and obviously ones I've discovered in the present. I love the diversity. You have bands like Glassjaws from the Long Island area. You got Pain of Truth, Backtrack, VOD, Movie Life, Silent Majority. That's my ideal show. It's just variety. As much as I love like hard shit and melodic shit, I love both. But I love it when it's like, I love that, especially today in back Long Island, it's packaged together. It's all hardcore. It's all punk. We're all one thing. That's why I specifically enjoy the Long Island scene.
Yeah, there's been a lot of like mixed bills in New York and Long Island. Like as an example, like that one set, I think it was Feet First that you mentioned, the Brooklyn show, played right after Volcano.
Oh hell yeah!
At that fest, and both reactions were equally as insane, which is such a cool thing to see. That's just like a random example that I can think of. Just like the transition from Volcano to us is just such a pretty crazy transition, and both no one batted an eye to it. And a band like Interlove can play with Pain of Truth, and no one will bat an eye on Long Island. It's so sick.
I love that. And you're starting to see it with like more like actual like touring worldwide. You're starting to see like more, we just saw the Koyo tour in St. Louis with One Step Closer, Anxious, and then there's Prize Horse, who's has like an indie rock vibe, so like, and then Sangasugabog, I think, played a show with Citizen a couple years ago or last year.
That's
like
crazy.
I think that's insane and great. So
Absolutely.
But it really makes sense. Like if you really think about like who these people are, where they come from, they're like, a lot of these people are all friends, and like they're, you know what I mean? Like everybody likes different kinds of shit, obviously. So it makes complete sense. And like, I remember at least locally, like on Long Island when I was a kid, like when me and Andre were both younger, I could definitely say that there was a lot of mixed bill shows, and then like at least like melodic and like hardcore shit together for sure. And then for a while, like it wasn't really like that. Maybe, I don't know, like maybe there just wasn't certain bands, like melodic bands, doing it on Long Island for a while.
Yeah.
And then, now it's kind of just like a renaissance of like what I grew up with, in 2008, 2009, 2010, when I was like like when I was 13, 14. So yeah, I just think it's a kind of like a cool renaissance to see that. And then it's also really, really cool to see that happen in other places, because that was something that was like, like you guys said, it's not necessarily unique completely to Long Island, but it's definitely something like Long Island champions is being able to like have all different kinds of bands play one show and everybody's friends with each other and nobody, like Matt says, like nobody bats an eye, so.
Yeah.
I love that.
I can remember a flyer that's like VOD Indecision, Silent Majority, or like something close to that, probably around like early 2000s, late 90s. And like, that's a good example of something back in the day that's like completely mixed that was probably awesome. I can imagine. And then like fast forward to like an example that we went through, like we played Brooklyn with like Tsunami and Vane, and also Dead Last being like a straight up hardcore band that played with us too. This stuff's happening, and that stuff is super cool.
I agree, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like we're that weird band that can kind of like fit in anywhere on the bill, if you throw us in there. And we love doing that stuff because we like a little bit of everything, really. So, yeah, it's cool to kind of just grow up with that and see it, spreading around elsewhere at other scenes across the country in the world. So,
yeah, I always enjoy the opportunity to, see a mixture of bands because, the great thing about it is I think that some people do get obviously a little locked into one specific genre, if you will. And how do you ever know if you never, test the waters elsewhere, right? So these are those opportunities. And sometimes, particularly if you're going to buy a ticket to go see a band in particular, you're going to have probably a little bit more patience because you spent your good hard-earned money to be there in person. You had to actually get out and do something and be somewhere. So people are going to give it a little bit more attention, a little bit more time, perhaps, if they are not familiar with a band or a genre, if they're to see somebody that may be entirely different altogether. So I want to talk to you guys. What else do we have in the works? I know you guys probably have some, live shows, events, that sort of stuff on the horizon worth talking about. I got to take the opportunity to beg you to come to the Midwest, to St. Louis specifically. I think you guys would play very well here. We got a venue that would be perfect for you guys, a hardcore venue, the Sinkhole.
Sinkhole, yep.
And I think you guys would do very well there in particular.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever played St.
I don't
Louis.
think we've been there yet.
Yep.
We would love to.
St. Louis has got a cool scene going, and there's like some band, Squint from St. Louis. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. I think that would be like a great show. You with Squint, and we have Direct Measure, Mile Adjust. They're not from St. Louis, but the band that just released the new, I think they're Locked Shut. They're from like Columbia, I think. And then Springfield has got a cool hardcore scene as well. So, yeah.
Good bands coming
I'd love to see you guys in Missouri somewhere.
Yeah, I have a friend that moved out there, like, I want to say like 5 years ago, and he says that you guys are just like a super, super like enthusiastic scene, and you guys are like awesome out there.
Yeah, I really love it. I think COVID was kind of the wake up for everybody here to, realize that we had a good thing going and we maybe all took it for granted. So since things have come back online, it feels like a whole new reinvigoration, particularly in the heavy music scene, I know. And I mean, that's more so the shows that I go to in particular. But, I've went to shoegaze shows, there's still the same vibe there. A lot of people just appreciative that live music is back and getting participated and to show going again. And there's just like a whole new excitement injected into the scene for sure.
I'm driving up to St. Louis. It's about an hour from where we're at. I'm driving up St. Louis every weekend, basically. Local show, like, bigger show. It doesn't matter. If there's a show, I'm there. Ever since shows came back, I'm not taking it for granted. I'm going to go. Doesn't matter. So.
Sick.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we definitely want to try to make it out there. I mean, we just went to the Midwest pretty much with Soulblind, and I think that just like happened to not hit St. Louis for whatever reason. But yeah, we'll definitely have to come back soon. I feel like I think like oddly we've toured the Midwest like kind of a ton. I feel like that's where we've hit the most out of anywhere possibly. But somehow we've never been to St. Louis, so we definitely got to make it out there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, as far as our out-of-state shows go, like Chicago, Louisville, and like most of the Midwest always rolls out. It's always sick. Yeah, Ohio. Yeah, a lot of our Ohio shows are really sick. I
will say that we Missouri folks, I'd say pretty much probably any Midwest state, like west of the Mississippi River, never really thinks of, like Illinois and well, definitely Ohio is Midwest. It certainly is. But, I think we are all just like programmed to think it's not West unless it's past, the Mississippi River. So.
Yeah, we do that with like upstate New York a lot.
Sure.
People that live in upstate New York, if it's not like north of, I don't know, like Albany or something or near Buffalo, they don't consider it to be upstate. But like to us, I guess Long Islanders, anything like that's above the city is upstate New York. But people get pretty passionate about that.
Yeah, I could see that. If you'll indulge me for a moment, I'd like to ask you guys kind of just some random personal questions so the audience gets to know you guys a little bit better, kind of like what your personal tastes are. I promise I'll be nice to you, and we'll keep it short and efficient if you guys will indulge me. First question is, are you guys a fan of movies? And if so, do you guys have like a favorite movie perhaps, or a favorite few movies? I'm just kind of curious. I'm a big movie buff, so I always like talking movies with folks.
Star Wars and any Kevin Smith film. So like
Okay.
Clerks, Mallrats, all of that stuff. I've definitely spent like, I feel like I don't know if we've watched what we've watched in the studio, but like we definitely had a lot of times and we spent a lot of our time just watching stuff. 2001 Space Odyssey.
Hell
That's
yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
that's like we're all on the same page. I think Brian fell asleep like 20 minutes into the movie, but we all were like, I think it was my second time watching it. I will speak upon it again. I mean, like, friend Anthony, who's off the stage and is our like touring guitar player, like, he showed me that movie and then I showed it to everyone in the studio and we were all like, dude.
Yeah.
And like our
Definitely.
producer came downstairs too and he's a huge movie buff. Like if you go into Silver Bullet Studios where we recorded the LP, there's a whole wall of films and a bunch of just film stuff, like posters all over the walls. And he came down and we're like, what does this movie mean? You know?
I love it.
Yeah. That's all I got for that question.
Hell yeah.
I mean, Matt mentioned Star Wars. Like, can't not say Star Wars. Love that whole series, but I don't know. Lately, like, I like a lot of the A24 stuff that's been
Hell
coming
yeah.
out.
Definitely.
Like, big like psychological thriller kind of guy, or like a horror movie guy.
Definitely.
Last year, I saw this movie, Beau is Afraid.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Love movies like that. Just saw Long Legs recently. That
Oh,
was
hell
really
yeah.
cool.
What'd you think?
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I love Nick Cage now. He's like one of my favorite actors.
Yes.
It
Definitely.
was really good. Yeah. So a lot of stuff like that kind of piques my interest, I guess. But I love a good comedy too. But love like the thriller stuff lately.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a hard question. I definitely am a big movie guy, but I feel like recently, as probably a lot of people are, like I'm more of like a show guy, I think. But like I like kind of like what Andre was saying, like psychological thriller kind of stuff, and like anything that has like crazy plot twists or just like is just like a weird, you know what I mean? Like obviously
Definitely.
like Pulp Fiction, like any like Tarantino movies that are just like fucking weird, where you're just like, what the hell is even going on right now? You know, like.
Right.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything specific, but I definitely like love like any show that has like crazy good character development or like plot twists, like Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, like obviously
Definitely.
like
Fantastic.
all the big ones, you know.
Yeah, I've kind of resorted into the show watching a little bit more so the movies myself, just like out of convenience, because I'm living that dad life. I got kids, so my time is limited. So I can usually fit a show in at least in the night. So
Yeah.
Most of the band loves The Sopranos.
Oh, that's
Well,
the greatest television show of all time.
Yep. It's
To
up
me,
there
for
sure.
me at least.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Agreed.
I'm doing the first watch through with my girlfriend right now, and we're locked in right now.
Hell yeah.
I literally told my wife, because she's never seen it, last week, that I'm gonna rewatch The Sopranos, and she's
Oh.
gonna see it for the first time. So it's gonna be a new
Love it.
adventure. So, guys, being Long Island folks, I gotta ask you, what is perhaps your Mount Rushmore of Long Island bands? Brian, who's on your Mount Rushmore of Long Island bands?
Yeah, that's got to be probably the most difficult question, but just out of what shit do I like the most?
Sure.
Yeah,
Silent
favorites.
Majority's,
Yeah.
yeah, like Silent Majority's got to be up there. Then from a perspective of like getting me into hardcore and like the type of hardcore music that I like the most, Backtrack has to be on it because that's like what got me into hardcore in the first place. Is like going to Backtrack shows and my friend Michael bringing me to see his brother's band like play their demo record release and like Have Heart just happened to be like the headlining band on that show, so it was just like
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
kind of like life changing for me.
Love it.
Especially like as a kid that like never like I always wanted to be in a band and like always liked rock music, but like I never had like the wherewithal to like put it together. Like how do you even go about doing that? Like how do you find other people that play like all the right instruments to like that you don't play? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that plays drums or whatever. So like you kind of just like kind of made that like attainable. And like the great thing about like hardcore specifically is like, you know, there's not really any idols. Like your idols are right next to you, like singing the words to the next band that's playing. You know what I mean? So it's like that's what makes it so special, especially on Long Island. But yeah, like I'm just kind of going on a tangent, but definitely Backtrack, Silent Majority, Incendiary has like been
Hell
around
yeah.
since I was a kid.
Lovely.
Fucking VOD is like huge for me. Love them. Got into them a little late, but love that fucking band. I could say Taking Back Sunday, I guess. That
Yeah,
was like
sure.
a huge band
Hell
for me
yeah.
at a certain point.
All right. Well, how about
Let's say
for
high
you,
school.
Andre? You look ready to answer it.
Yeah, super tough question. Definitely gonna be a lot of overlap on our lists here, but
Sure.
gotta go with Silent Majority, probably at the top. Crime and Stereo is another one. Backtrack and Incendiary, because those were like the first two local bands for me that, you know, really started to get me to keep coming back to like local shows when I first started going. This band, The Agents, they're like a local band that I think we all like as a band a lot. I'm definitely influenced by. I think I'll leave it there for now because I could just keep going for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. How about for
Yeah.
you, Matt?
Also, I forgot Capital. I had to just chime in like and interrupt everybody to correct that.
We just assumed that
Like,
that was a given at this point.
No, well, you know what it was? Is like before I even knew Silent Majority, like I went to Capital shows and I fucking loved Capital. And then my friends like were like, "Yo, you should listen to Silent Majority. You would love that band." They're like kind of like Capital, but a little bit different. So yeah, gotta say Capital too.
No, I'm just gonna sound like a broken record. Yeah, I think all of us together, Silent Majority, is the holy grail of Long Island.
Yeah.
That reunion show that they played was kind of like a mix of everything that I do today on a day-to-day basis that I surround my life around. And I wouldn't like obviously wouldn't say that's like the one pivotal moment, but it definitely is like a super transformative moment that
Yeah.
like I stage managed the Silent Majority reunion shows at a venue that I started working at, and that was like I said, a huge pivotal transformative event where I was like, this is so crazy that I'm in the middle in some capacity involved in an event where the entire room is just so on the same page and so filled with like so much love and passion and like appreciation to even be in the room in the first place, and like just seeing that unravel, including, you know, like loving the band. It was just like a moment of like, this is everything I want every day. I love this so much, you know, like that was my takeaway from those shows. I just kind of wanted to add on to my personal feelings towards the answer that we've all been giving, is that Silent Majority is a huge influence on all of us. Yeah. And yeah, VOD, top 5 band for me. Crazy bass player. I try and head nod as much as I can because he's just so like out there in like the most tasteful way. Honestly, a lot of Scott's bass lines for all the bands that he's ever involved himself in. Scott being the bass player of Silent Majority that plays with them all the time now. He's always trying to push the bar. I see a lot of like the songs where it just kind of like trails off to him, and even when they play live, like he kind of like takes it away and just like starts playing his bass lines before the songs kick in, and I'm just like, these are like only things that dude can think of when he wrote them. And yeah, everything else is just is what everyone else said. Incendiary and Backtrack really got me into this before the Silent Majority shows, and then some. Straight from the Path
Yes.
was a huge band for me in high school, which is like, you know, make your own history, and like their other records were like really like transformative and influential to me, like when I was like in the middle of high school, early high school. The Reunion show, which is like Derek Sherman, Mark Klepfeld, and a couple other guys. I think the bass player of the band is Mark Hoppus's bass tech now.
Wow. Okay.
But back in the day, back in like the more like the MTV days and stuff, they were like kind of rocking a lot and touring a lot, and that's a band that me and Jerry like love. And now some of those dudes are in like bands like Saint Hood Reps and stuff, and they play shows with us all the time. And then like we had that like one moment where I was like, we went up to them like kind of like little kids, even though we're like mid-20s and we're mid to late 20s, and I'm just like, dude, we love the reunion show. And they were just like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Check that band out if you haven't.
Okay,
yet.
I'm gonna check that out for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it for me for that question.
I'll just add on, Silent Majority, Life of a Spectator is immaculate. Perfect record. Every song, put some respect on Silent Majority. That, I don't know, in my opinion, they should have been way huge to me. I know they're legends in Long Island, but like more people need to know about that band.
Agreed.
Of course, yeah.
Hopefully, Standstill and Koyo and bands that champion that shit, like are showing some younger kids what's up these days,
Yeah, absolutely. I got to ask you guys another Long Island related question. Haven't been out there myself too much, but I know there's some legendary eat spots. So what are like go-to hot spots for you guys to grab a meal in the Long Island area? I got to ask.
I knew you were going to do this to us, man.
Vicky's, or obviously that's like I feel like we have like a set list specifically for podcasts now, where we like talk about like we should get paid by these places at this point. I feel like
Yeah,
because we just talk about so much.
Right off the rip, just because I just went there. So it was the day of Painted Truth and Speed at the Music Hall.
Hell yeah.
At a local venue that just reopened at a bigger city. Was working with Sen, who sings in Soul Bond. I rushed to our hometown of Lindenhurst. I took Sen. He's from Hudson Valley. And I took him over, and I went to like kind of like one of our like spots that we're all proud of. It's called Vicky's Casa del Sabor. And me, Brian, Jerry, everyone in the band, but we all like swear by it. It's such a good, just like a good empanada spot specifically.
Best empanadas ever.
Yeah,
best empanadas.
It's like a hit or miss spot as far as timing goes. Like you have to call it in, and sometimes you call it in. It's like, it's gonna be like 45 minutes, and then like. I called the other day. It was like only 20 minutes, but just to give you a gauge on it, like it's super like made to order, like really, really, really good food. That's nice. That's my one pick. I can go on for days about pizza, and I guarantee you, like if Jerry was here too, he would be like just like going crazy over the pizza aspect. Yeah, but like everyone from Long Island all has their own spots. I
many good spots.
I live in a town of Huntington now, and I know a lot of Long Island people would preach by Rosa's Pizza. It's not like my favorite, but it's definitely really good. Yeah, that's kind of all I got. Brian, if you want to take it away, or Andre.
I'm curious to know what Andre's are. Honestly, I don't even know if I know Andre's like secret favorite food spots.
I don't know. I can give you some good coffee spots. I mean,
we'll take.
I agree with like a lot. I agree with a lot of the pizza that Matt mentioned, but Druthers is like a pretty good coffee spot, kind of out east in Stony Brook. South Down's a really good one. So a couple of them on the islands. Flux Coffee too. Really like all those spots a lot. I keep mine just coffee. I don't know if you guys want to do other ones.
Yeah, our big coffee spots are South Down and Flux. We like if anyone's meeting up with me to go to a show and hop in my car. I live in Huntington now, and that's like a central North Shore town where like the venue that I work at for Dying Lights in, and that has Rosa's Pizza and South Down Coffee. So whenever anyone meets up with me there, we go get South Down Coffee, and whenever we meet up at the space that we're in right now that you can see, it's right down the highway from Flux Coffee, which like Ryan from that band Maxiel from Long Island works at, and they're all really nice people. Whenever we go in there, they're always just like welcoming us. They're like, "Whoa, where were you guys playing today?" Like kind of like that kind of vibe.
Hell yeah,
very cool.
You also have Little Vincent's in Huntington, which also like I'm just gonna say is overrated as fuck. Like the only thing that's cool about
that's why I didn't say anything about it.
Trying to be nice.
I love hot cake. Yeah. I love it.
I just like shitting on it because it's literally just like the okayest pizza you could ever get on Long Island. Like it's better than like fucking like I don't know, in the middle of nowhere pizza, like Arkansas pizza, like that place that we had in Arkansas was like crazy
Ooh.
compared to.
I feel like
Yeah.
Arkansas, it's going to be chain pizza or bust
Yes,
for the
yeah,
most part.
Yeah.
Probably.
So you know, so it's like
Yeah,
yeah, so it's like the okayest pizza, but they do like a cold cheese slice where they throw some cold mozzarella on top of like a hot slice, and it just like melts to the slice, but it's still cold, and like that's like a cool novelty thing that they do. But you can
yeah,
literally get that at any pizza place. Like you just be like, yo, throw
yeah.
some
And they
cold
all the
mozzarella on it. They'll be
locals,
like, all right.
all the locals like pushing upon like everyone there for some reason. They talk about it, and then like I said, it's at the town is where the venue I work at is, and there's so many like touring acts that come through that are just like, yo, I heard about this cold cheese slice, and then my whole staff is like, come on, man, it's not that crazy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a bunch of good spots. Like I guess like another one that's like a overall standstill one was like when we were writing a lot of our first records, we were getting Vicky's a lot, like Matt was saying earlier, and then this pizza spot called Albert's that
Mhm.
does this like upside down pie specifically. It's like a Sicilian-ish shaped like a square pie.
Well,
And they like
when we filmed In My Blood, we had our friend Marquiles. I just like threw my credit card at him, and then he picked up a bunch of, I guess you would call them sheets of pizza, and then we got like 4 pies for like the 50 to 80 or so people that came out. We went to Albert, so
I don't
along
think I
with
got
eating it,
I don't think I got a damn slice of that pizza, by the way.
I got like one.
Yeah, right. You had at least 2 pizza sandwich.
All right,
Oh,
I had
wow.
like 6.
You just had a couple. Just a
None to
couple.
6.
But yeah, the point is they make this dope upside down pizza, like that's just like switching up the sauce and the cheese, and we always would get like the upside down pizza but with vodka sauce.
Oh,
And
Nice.
it was awesome. Yeah, so that was
Nice.
like a
Love it.
go-to when we were writing a practice and patience and like in a moment's notice and stuff.
Yeah, for good pizza, we have to drive up to St. Louis.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's all corporate pizza,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yep.
So there's some all right spots. I've been taking you guys to Dewey's lately.
Yep.
That's a good.
Well, if
pizza
they ever come to
spot.
St. Louis, they got to try Emo's. We have the St. Louis style pizza. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's thin crust. It's like Provel cheese and like that's like big St. Louis style thin crust. Or it's like a local. It's a chain, but it's local. It's called Emo's,
Yeah.
and I love it. I don't know if you guys are into. I know Dave Portnoy did the pizza review and came to St. Louis and like just
Shit all over
trashed Emo's and called it cracker pizza, but we have St. Louis style, which is like thin crust.
Yeah. It's good for the occasion.
That's one of my favorite things about doing touring, like is like we just get so much pizza all the time for some reason, so we just get to try.
It's hard to
all
fuck
these
it up.
Yeah, I don't know.
You
if that-
can.
I can.
You definitely can.
Being from New York, I can't agree that it's hard to fuck it up because I've had some fucked up pizza. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I really enjoy having different places style pizza if it's really
Yeah.
good. Like it's awesome to have something completely different that's not like what I would consider good New York pizza, but it's fucking awesome, different out of the box kind of thing that's like a style for wherever we are. And I love getting different kinds of pizza everywhere. That's one of my
When we
favorite
come to
things.
St. Louis, we will definitely hit you up.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely
Hell
Yeah,
Emos.
we'll hook you up.
Like put it in your brain, Matt. Write it down.
Emo's
Yeah,
with an
if
I,
we-
not an E.
Yeah.
If you guys ever come to Long Island, just like try and find a nice spot for like a specialty slice, because I feel like that's kind of like the Long Island thing is just like specialty slices. You know, like
yeah,
like
Alberto's
like
is
Rose.
the good one. Is for Long
Yeah,
Island.
yeah. I think wouldn't
Overall.
Jerry preach by that too? Like, doesn't
Yeah,
he
I mean-
tell people of Umberto's?
Yeah, and it's like I used to work at the spot, and the owner used to work at Umberto's when they first started up, and Umberto's is
Okay.
known for like their food and their pizza, like on Long Island. And basically, the owner of my old job, like when I was a kid, got into a fight with that owner, and then he basically just had all the same fucking recipes and just started a different restaurant. And I swear,
There's some of that
and,
shit
like,
that's went
I've
on
had
in St. Louis.
Umberto's. Umberto's is delicious, and I swear by that guy's food too. So if he learned from the Umberto's guy, like that's definitely the best. Italian food in general, it's really good, and then definitely the best pizza for sure. I agree with Jerry on that one.
And like this is one spot like we play Sand City Brewery, which is like a dope floor show spot on like quote unquote our main street. It's called Wellwood Avenue in our hometown, or like, you know, mine and Brian's hometown. And they have like three or four pizza spots that are all like generally pretty good, which it's like a dope vibe that like when everyone comes to the show, they could just walk wherever. Re-entry is pretty chill, and like Lindenhurst is a awesome spot in general. Just feel like I had to say that.
To wrap up the pizza discussion, I have to give out one more love. There's a newer pizza place in St. Louis, metal themed, called the Headless Bat. A really popular St. Louis metal band, The Lion's Daughter. I know, Jake, you're familiar with them. Getting a lot of national attention now, but one of the guys in the band, the lead singer, he owns the restaurant.
Yep.
And it's metal themed, a lot of cool decor throughout it. It's not even been open for a year yet, I think. I had the pleasure of going there for the wife and I's anniversary, and it is a stellar place. They do buy the slice, or you can do a whole pie. It's very limited, but then they have like some obscure shit. They do like a 420 like stoner pizza, or they did it for a period of time, you know.
That was like with like Cool Ranch Doritos on it, right?
Cool Ranch Doritos and fucking mozzarella sticks, and I think it had pizza rolls on it maybe instead of mozzarella sticks.
Okay,
actually,
yeah.
So it's pretty wild. Yeah. But I love the place. It's very ambitious, and folks need to check it out if they haven't in the St. Louis area yet. We got a lot of St. Louis area listeners, so got to give some love to Rick and those guys too in St. Louis.
You got to add that to our list too, then.
Yeah, for sure. So, guys, rounding things out, what's heavy in the current rotation for you as a music fan? What are you guys listening to a lot right now?
Damn, blindsided right now.
Brett?
I feel like on this.
Yeah, we're all listening.
Yeah,
it's pretty
Charlie
awesome.
Oh yeah, we were listening to that this week as well.
That's not my typical thing, but like that record is pretty fucking good. So
on the tour we did, we listened to it like every hour of every day. So
I smartened these guys up about the Charlie XCX album, which I do like pop music, but not a ton. Like present day, that is.
Same.
Like I'm really huge into 80s pop.
Yeah.
That's cool. 80s and 90s pop is like my personal favorite.
Well, I love 2000s and like 2010, like Katy Perry, American Dream, Kesha's first record, no skips for me.
I do like Kesha's first record. I will say that. Yeah,
Kesha's awesome.
Dope.
Yes.
I mean, as far as like stuff that I'm generally listening to, I'm listening to a lot of jazz fusion, but like I don't need to talk about that.
I love it.
When I go to the gym, I'm listening to the new 200 Stabs.
Fuck
which
yeah.
is
Hell
fucking crazy.
Punishing.
All of those that like plethora of like metallic hardcore or like death metal bands, they're all like going crazy with it. Final Resting Place, insane.
Yes. Daze band is right.
Torture, fuck yeah.
Torture is dope. The new Drug Church is sick.
Yep.
New Heavy X is dope.
A lot.
Yep.
Honestly, the new story so far is sick.
I agree.
Absolutely.
All of John Markson's records that he's been putting out, really, really dope. All of Rat's records that he's been producing, really, really dope. Yeah, and just the stuff that the people that we've already mentioned. I can't really think of what I've been listening to without like looking at my Spotify right now, honestly. But
yeah. Our friends in Squint just recorded with John Marks.
Yes, they did.
So
St. Louis band.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Squint. Their new album will be coming out in the fall. Their new single comes out
new singles next week. So yeah.
The band that is generally from our hometown of Lindenhurst, Somerset Thrower, they are just wrapping up recording with Markson. If not, they're already done. And then me and Brian just the other day got a taste of it, and it's fucking insane.
I'm a big like Spotify, like the DJ thing that goes on there. So it's whatever comes on there. I don't know. Kind of just see what that gives me. But the Charlie XCX thing is like no joke. We straight up listen to that a lot.
Definitely.
All right, I went into my Spotify. The new Queensway song is crazy.
Queensryche, like Operation Mindcrime?
No, Queensway.
Queensway. Oh yeah, that's great.
Like I think it was the first Daze release before Painted Truth, or I don't know if they did like one or two other releases before the first Painted Truth EP. But I'm pretty sure The Real Fear by Queensway was like the first Daze release, and that was when, like I said, when Daze just started, and now they're just releasing their new music for the first time. And that would be 3 years or so. Queensway coming back is so crazy because that band toured a lot for their first tours with our friends at Hangman, which are members of Pain of Truth, and Koyo, and our friend Anthony, who tours with us a lot, playing guitar.
Yeah.
Hangman was a band that like me and Brian and everyone in Standstill was like riding for like still till to this day, and we like went to as many Hangman shows as we could, and they toured a lot with Queensway. So seeing Queensway come back is super exciting for us. Yeah, that's a cool song.
Yeah, we've been jamming that too this week.
Yeah.
It's hard for sure.
Yeah, no, new and to talk about Markson productions and stuff like that. The new Last Question on Flatstone.
Oh, fuck
Yes,
yeah.
one of my favorite bands.
Yo, that
I've
band
seen them
is-
live a couple times this past year. One of my favorite live bands right now.
Yeah, we toured the West Coast with them for like 8 to 10 days or so, like a little over a week, and every day we were just like, God damn, this is
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, the lead singer toured as the merch guy for Speed on the
Yeah.
Knock Loose tour. And fucking great guy
Josh,
too.
Josh is awesome. What
He's
an
a
awesome
great
guy.
Such a good guy.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
personable. It's amazing. For sure.
Yeah, being in a
Yeah.
band with them was awesome. It was sick.
Yeah. Great overall, great band, great people, great music, great musicians. Awesome.
Yes.
Folks, it's been a great time speaking with you guys tonight. Let's get some plugs, some shout outs in. Where can people stay in tune with you guys?
Instagram is the spot that we talk to people the most and also post the most on. As far as like where you want to keep in touch and keep up to date with things. Yeah, if you want to book us on any shows, you just hit up us directly, or you hit up Nothing Stronger or Daze. Daze posts a lot of updates on us too.
Yeah.
That's as far as like the personal plugs on how to keep in touch with us. Yeah, Brian or Andre, do you want to add anything?
Shout out Deadshot. Shout out the new Heavy Hex record.
Hell
Shout
yeah.
out all the young bands that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head right now. 10 years out. Liberate.
Liberate.
All the young fucking bands online that are doing it right now. Shout out to them.
The band come up and Submerge.
Submerge, yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole like circle of kids on Long Island right now that are doing like a bunch of crazy stuff, and all their shows are sick.
Yeah, it's awesome just to see like the next generation coming out to shows and all the young like new faces. So just want to keep that going and seeing that. So yeah, just start a band. Just start a band.
Absolutely.
Yes, most certainly. And, you guys have mentioned Daze as well. Got to lean into on the way out the amazing relationship that you guys have with them. Daze is one of those labels to watch right now. I think so, especially if you like hardcore music. They got a lot of great hardcore bands in particular on the label, but doing a little bit, dabble it, and a little bit into everything. I know that, some of your guys' earlier releases, you guys did some like dual releases with New Morality Design as well. It's another great folks over there too. Prize Horse put out their album with them, so a big fan of that work over there as well. So Daze doing God's work out there, folks. Doing God's work.
Shout out to Lumpy.
Yeah, shout out Lumpy. Shout out Nick
yeah.
NMZ.
Shout out Nick NMZ, yeah. Shout out Triple B.
Triple B.
Shout out Streets of Hate. All those awesome hardcore labels that are crushing it.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, well, it was great getting to know you guys tonight, and I'm glad that we veered the conversation into areas perhaps that folks wouldn't have known about you guys previously. That's one of the things we like to do here on ATI Podcast is get the people to know the musicians, the folks behind the instruments. So really cool hearing about your guys' background, things that you guys are into specifically. So, man, we appreciate your guys' time so much, and love the new album.
Go pick it up if you haven't already.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you guys. Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Thanks for
guys.
chatting with us.
And
Thank you so much.
Of course, at the end of the year, we always do our albums of the year. We do cross-pollination with Waxing On with R&J. Jake's a co-host on that show on our podcasting network. And us here over at ATI Podcast at the end of the year, we review our favorite albums from the year. And don't be surprised if this isn't on one or two of our lists. We'll be talking about it again. I think this is, if not the most, at least second or third most album that I've replayed this year. This has got a lot of replayability, folks, so I can't encourage you enough to check it out.
Hey there, this is Barrett from the ATI Podcast here to talk about what we have going on the ATI Podcast Network. First, we'll start with Waxing On with R&J. The format of Waxing On with R&J is audible selections made exclusively by our hosts and brothers, Ridge Jackson and Jake Jackson. Waxing On with R&J is sure to tickle your inner eardrums with some of the most vile tones you've ever encountered, and conversely, ear candy with pop melodies, focusing on spotlighting underground and rising artists. Waxing On with R&J is another outlet of the ATI podcast community to bring awareness to many musicians' craft. Also found on the ATI Podcast Network, Nod Narb's Closet, hosted by Brandon Stewart of Edos Inn. Nod Narb's Closet is a wing of the ATI podcast programming that delves into the world of roleplay games, miniature painting, diorama making, occasional pro wrestling match watch-alongs, providing commentary with a dash of jocularity and satire, and much, much more. Of course, leading the pack is the ATI Podcast. On the ATI Podcast, we episodically invite guests onto our show to spotlight their talents, whether that's musicians, filmmakers, artists, actors, businesses, even athletes. Nothing is off the table. The focus of the ATI Podcast and its collective creative arms, whether that's Waxing On with R&J or Nod Narb's Closet, is to bring awareness and focus to people's talents. Be sure to follow us across all traditional podcasting platforms, and for the full experience, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search the ATI Podcast. Stay safe out there.